I had to take my students out of the classroom, and I knew that day everything was going to be different. Hey, this is Milagros Hugueto de Sánchez, profe de Mente y Corazón, and this is the podcast de Mente y Corazón, my mind and heart. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to comment, follow, like, share, subscribe. So that's how this project is going to remain in time based on interactions. So today I'm here. I'm super excited to tell you about that experience my students had this week. And to give you context, I'm teaching Spanish for native speakers. It is called SNS 1. So Spanish native speakers 1, level 1. And the content suggests talking about arts, fine arts. So since we've been talking about art since the beginning of the quarter 2, unit 3, and it has been amazing. The ability these kids have to create when they are encouraged, motivated, when they are inspired. So I started with a collage because it's one of the ways I used to create as an artist. You know, Profe de Mente y Corazón is also a multidisciplinary artist. I will talk about that in a different episode. I keep promising things, but I'll do it, I promise. So they did the collage. I went to a local supermarket, Compare Foods. It's an international supermarket, and they have piles of newspapers from different media, from different organizations. So I asked for at least 50 copies of La Noticia, Hola, and different newspapers they had there. I took them to my classroom, and those newspapers were about Hispanic Heritage Month. What a good coincidence. So I told them, okay, here you are. You have the scissors, you have glue, paper, and the newspaper. You also I had glitter and some stickers, they're always nice. And they were given directions after the class, after the lesson, they were going to create. So I exposed them to the question that was the essential question. Why do people create arts? And they watched a video, they took notes, they answered questions, they interacted among themselves, they interviewed each other, and then I gave them free time to create. I was monitoring. We are doing academic monitoring, so I'm expected to know what is happening every minute of the class in order to support them and make them more knowledgeable of their education. So they did the collage. I loved it, and I say, okay, the second text suggests talking about the story of a student going to a museum and feeling bored, feeling like she didn't belong because she liked the outdoors, being in the outside, in her backyard, in her grandma's house, in touch with nature. But anyways, end of the story. She loved the museum. I'm spoiling the story. I hope your students don't watch this. And they, after reading the story, they were asked to research a little bit about different Hispanic artists. Of course, they came up with Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, Salvador Dalí, Picasso, Guayasamín, and others. I have a long list. I also invited them to research about artists from either their countries or the countries of their parents, because most of them are born here in the United States. So it was a beautiful exercise. They saw what they did. Most of them are visual artists. And my students asked, how do they do this with this precision? I say, okay, it's a matter of time. And then I came up with a brilliant idea of inviting an artist to my class. Well, fortunately, I'm married to an artist, and Mr. Sanchez, here you hear applauses, came to my classroom, and then he was hired to teach them the basic steps to drawing. And then that was day one. I gave them paper, pencils, and then he came with an introduction, definition, concepts, lines, and shapes. And then he brought this object from my classroom, and he told them how to use this format that artists use with certain landscapes and horizontal, vertical, quarters, and more. Students were so clever. It was so nice. I have pictures. I might show them here on the video when Mr. Sanchez was showing them how to measure the object they're going to draw. They were going to draw, and I saw them making the measurements with their eyes. I was so proud because I tried to draw and I haven't accomplished that skill yet, but I will, I promise. And then they started to draw. Some of them are natural artists. They're natural, I promise. Others were more like me, like they did it because they knew they had to. It was a grade. Everything in my classroom is a grade. So I collected the paper, and then it took us the whole entire class. They were talking, they were laughing at each other. You know, I tried to I always encourage a respectful environment, but it's so funny when they start like trying, and then they feel they are not doing it. So classmates, some are very supportive, and they tell each other, remember, he told us to do this or that, grab the pencil this way. Hey, Mr. Sanchez, how do I do this or that? And well, that took us, as I told you, the whole class. After collecting the paper, Mr. Sanchez checked the work, gave them feedback, and we set a second date for them to learn about photography. That was the third visual art we were going to discuss, learn, and practice in my classroom. We on day 2 we started. I checked attendance. This is kind of me remembering everything I did that day. And then normally I collect cell phones and put them in a basket and put them away. That's what we do every single day based on the law. That day was so different because I told them, okay, close your Chromebooks, put your notebooks away, and let's use our cell phones.
Wow!
They looked at me like, what? Teacher, are you okay? We have this relationship. And then I told them, yes, we are okay. We're going to be using our cell phones with academic purposes, and because we're going to be using the camera. That's the only thing you need. Actually, go to settings and tap on flight mode and forget about your social media. That's what we did. And Mr. Sanchez was waiting for me to introduce him again. They already knew him, so they were happy to have him again. Class was going to be interesting. They knew it. Not that my class is boring, but it's different. Somebody else, teaching them something new. Most of them took pictures, and They knew basic things about grabbing the camera, grabbing the cell phone, selecting camera, and taking a picture. Period. So they went deep into knowing more about framing, bokeh, colors, how to identify. One quick question that a student asked: why do cell phones have three lenses if they only use one? Well, that was a question for Mr. Sanchez, and after that, he continued to uh, build rapport with my students, and I, of course, jumped into the conversation every once in a while because I know about photography. That's one of my hobbies, and also because I could. It's my class, right? So I told them that we were gonna start practicing after Mr. Sanchez introduced topic, basic concepts about photography. We did some practice in class. We went to the hall, and then they took amazing pictures. They learned so fast. And then I told them, okay, let's go downstairs. We went to the parking lot, and there is a garden, like there is grass and there are some trees, and they are outside. So I took them out of my classroom, and following directions, they took amazing pictures. So what was the point? They were going to create a photo essay. They were asked to talk about their everyday life as students at school, with routines, with everyday life objects, things that they saw every single day. However, that day they saw those objects with a different eye, through the lens of their cameras, cell phones. Well, I told them, hey, first of all, show me how many pictures, how many photos do you have in your cell phone? They told me, I have 15 pictures. Other one, I have 5,000. Everybody was like, whoa, why do you have so many pictures? And then I told them, okay, you want to know how many I have? I show my camera, my photos to one of my students, and I asked her, tell them, please. So I have almost 100,000 photos. They were surprised. Of course, they say, you have money, you're paying for the cloud. Of course, I'm paying for it, but it's because I do this for a hobby, for pleasure, and also for my non-profit organization, La Casa de la Cultura. And of course, I love pictures. Why not, right? YOLO. You only live once. Okay. I asked them to follow directions with Mr. Sanchez. I didn't interrupt anymore. And then he asked, his initial question was, could you please show me the picture that you consider is the most beautiful one you have on your cell phone? And they took, a moment. Let me see. Some students were frustrated because they had 0 photos. It's like, how come? I mean, life is so beautiful. Some moments you can treasure. They say, I just don't feel like. Okay, that day, that person took like 50 pictures of his classmate, trying to get the angle. After we checked, some students had a very beautiful pictures or photos and a very accurate photographic eye. Then they showed pictures to each other, and we started the exercise outdoors. Some of them, we are close to the airport, took pictures I've never taken, even on campus. I always take pictures. Some airplanes. Also, they those nuts that are on the floor, because they fall from the trees. They did some macro photos I taught them how to do. They were playing with shades. It was beautiful. I love them. I'm gonna show you some pictures. Maybe aquí. Okay. So we did that with my first and second block because both are Spanish for native speakers, level 1. Spanish for level 1. Yes. And for my fourth block, we always do different things because that is Spanish for non-natives. We will be talking about that later on this podcast de Mente y Corazón. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Thank you. And after they took their pictures, they were asked to select 4. The photo essays title was like Mi vida en la escuela, y they were going to tell the story with about how they interact daily with their classmates. Sentences, small paragraphs. I didn't want a long essay because that's why I wanted them to feel inspired through taking the pictures. That's how they were going to tell the story, and then complement it with some sentences. Okay, they did that. Second day, they presented to the class the photos with the essay. Oh my gosh, I was so proud of my kids. They're not kids, they're teenagers, but they're still my kids. And they got feedback from Mr. Sanchez, and we wrap it up, and they say that this is important because they could tell stories, even about not only about school, but about culture. And that's what I told them I do with my nonprofit and even on campus with them. So we can tell stories, we can preserve moments that if we don't care could disappear. So they could treasure moments of dancing, traditions from different countries with traditional clothes or food or music or ornaments, decorations, different things they could preserve through photography. Also using those techniques they learned. And why were they exposed to arts? First of all, because it's content. It was on the curriculum, on my lesson plan, and because it is important to help students tell their stories through using different media. They all have memories, and it is important to teach them different ways to honor their own stories and their families and their ancestry through photography. And also because you never know who's going to become a famous artist, and I want to say, hey, I taught them in my classroom photography along with the language, and that interaction they had among them, getting to know each other, taking pictures to each other respectfully, of course. And also when they were able to take pictures, follow directions, they say, I have a field trip next week and I want to use this resource, my camera, not only for taking random pictures, but taking pictures with purpose. And that I was very proud of them. So they are gonna do storytelling projects with photos and drawings, and a combination of photos, drawings, and collage. That's our next activity. And they are more confident. When I told them, okay, you're gonna present, I'm going to project your photo essays and I'll call your name and you go to the screen. I wasn't sitting next to the screen. I was sitting in front of the class like a regular student. And they stood up and they went ahead and they just talk about their photos and what inspired them and why they took the pictures. And they were thankful with Mr. Sanchez, of course, and myself for inviting him to the classroom. And it was beautiful because you could see how their creative minds were active. And well, to wrap it up, I just want to remind you the power you have as a teacher to create, to motivate your students, to get them out of their comfort zone and to do things that might be different in a way. Because we're supposed to be teaching semantics, grammar, linguistics. Yes, we are, but we're doing that creatively. Remember that you are a teacher listening to your students and their needs. It doesn't matter what subject you teach, art creates connection. You can help them create and connect from who they are and their education. Those things come together. And art builds community. My students, now they know their names. Sometimes when I was new, my students went through my class the entire semester and they didn't even know their names, the name of the person who sat next to them. Art helps students feel that school is a place where their identity belongs, where they belong. And our community is made out of a diversity. So that's what I want them to have clear in mind. We are creative human beings, we're students, but we are human beings who can do multiple things, and we're capable of doing multiple things. So I took my lesson, I took arts, I combined them, and I invited them to create. I had Mr. Sanchez. I'm going to leave a picture of Mr. Sanchez here and follow him on Instagram. And please, please, please remember, you are capable of doing extraordinary things with your students. Here I am, Profe de Mente y Corazón, Milagros Hugueto de Sánchez. Please follow me, comment, subscribe, also share, and remember to follow me on Instagram at Profe de Mente y Corazón. This is the podcast De Mente y Corazón for you and for me. I'm always learning from you as well as you are learning from yourself, myself, and our entire community. See you.
Este fue el podcast de la Profe de Mente y Corazón. Out. Nos vemos en el próximo episodio.